Thank you. Haya. ODM. ODM. Asanteni sana, you may be seated. Today you learned all protocols observed. Hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Yes, I've sat for too long down here that I'm now a little bit confused. But I think it has been very exciting and also very illuminating to listen to other people talk. I want to thank particularly the two gentlemen you invited here. That is Polycarp Omolo Chilo and Dr. Oscar Otele from the University of Nairobi. I found their contribution very informative indeed, and with a lot of humor and good touch. And I also want to thank everybody else who has contributed in this discussion today. It was a wonderful session. We thought that it is necessary for us, before you go back, to have a PG, because you have not had a PG where you also brought the party leadership to talk to you together. And we felt that we should do it before the end of the year, particularly before we go for the Jamboree in Mombasa. So I'm not going to bore you with a very long speech. There's a few things that I put together that I want to say. About a year ago, we got together with the UDA party to help steady the ship of the Kenyan nation that had been hit by extreme turbulence and faced a reality of collapse. Some people may not even know exactly where we were, but because I had a first inside impression of what was happening, we were very much almost on the precipice. Because as you see, after so many days of demonstrations, you saw that eventually the military were on the streets. And they were on the streets, of course, they were fairly civil to the Wananchi at that time. But that was because they had not been given instructions. And you know, there is what you always all the time talk about, the chief of defense forces. Once the military are given instructions, they execute. And we are almost there. We're almost there. So he said it's better to have a country that is civil, where leadership can be replaced through the ballot rather than through the bullets. And that was one of the reasons why we did what we did at that time. The coming together started informally, with some of our members joining the government. We later formalized the arrangements through a memorandum of understanding signed publicly with UDA and shared widely with the public. This far, a core agenda of our coming together has been achieved. We have a stable and peaceful country. We beat back the chaos and created an environment in which you can agree to disagree without staring at a collapse. I recognize and appreciate the role our MPs continue to play in the realization of this noble goal of preserving the nation. As I've said before, whatever the differences and misgivings we have as parties or leaders, we must have a country first. Only then can we set about discussing how to perfect the nation's imperfections and even who is to lead the nation. This is a core belief of our party. We stand for and with the country and act in the interest of the people of Kenya. I am convinced that Kenyans want Kenya to stand, and we stand with them on this. Ronald Reagan used to tell Americans, and I quote, "If you ever forget that we are one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under," unquote. As Kenyans, we know only too well what happened to nations that went under. Some took too long to come back, others never made it back at all. Kenya must never tempt that fate. As a party, we must never be ashamed to remind the people that we can never accept collapse as an alternative path to power. We must never be shy to remind the country that as a party, we have pursued compromise before and will pursue it whenever necessary in the interest of the nation. We had the option of taking it out to the bitter end in 2007-2008. All we needed was to insist that we would not engage in any talks with our opponents. But we saw the danger of Kenya collapsing, and we opted for compromise for the sake of Kenya. We steadied the ship when the gridlock threatened the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. In order to make the country move forward and pass some of the agenda that was seen to be pro-people between 2018 and 2022, ODM had lent a hand. We asked for no titles or positions in return. We insisted only on better policies and programs for the people of Kenya and reforms so that we would not witness the repeat of what had happened in 2017. History indicates that each time the leaders of this country have come together, some great things happen. We got the 2010 Constitution because we made compromises with the President Daniel Arap Moi and made him appreciate that it was in his interest, as well as the country's, to midwife a new constitution. We achieved more under the Grand Coalition government than under the NAC regime. The NAC regime swept to power in a wave of popularity, but quickly got hijacked by isolationists and quickly lost the plot to tribal demagogues. Over time, we have appreciated that it takes teamwork to get any edifice, a country included, back on the right track. Today, we are again seeing early fruits of cooperation between political parties. By blending what ODM has always believed in with what ODA believes in, we came up with their widely accepted 2025-2026 budget. Thanks to the ODM experts. We have also come up with programs to implement agreements like the NADCO report and the MOU that lay ground for the realization of our broader national ambitions. The ability to make compromises without compromising the core values and the goals is yielding fruits. We are not out of the woods yet, but we are in a better place today than at this time in 2024 or this time in 2023. Much work remains to be done in the pursuit of a stable, equitable, and prosperous country that delivers to the citizens. It will require firm and resolute leadership, regular consultations, more sobriety, and constant focus on the needs of the people. I mention sobriety because in times like this, it is possible for politicians to spend more time listening to the echoes of their own voices and the cheers from the masses, and forget that we are leaders and we are supposed to be leading. In times like these, it is possible to be lost in competing campaigns or populism and forget that leading means making decisions that may sometimes invite booing instead of cheers. I have been there. I've been cheered and have been booed. I was once set up against the people when I set about clearing the ground for the Thika superhighway and the bypasses around Nairobi. Today, everyone claims credit for Thika superhighway and the bypasses. My colleagues in Parliament once disowned me when, together with KANU, I championed the Constitution Review Commission that laid the groundwork for what became the 2010 Constitution and which everyone claims credit for today. So my appeal to you as we embark on some of the legislative agenda coming up is that you should never feel powerless or feel like giving up because populists around you are seeking popularity at the expense of leadership. When they call you Baba and someone sets the homestead on fire, does Baba join the burning of the homestead just because it looks like exciting, or does Baba help to put out the fire? Does Baba release his sons and daughters to add fuel to the fire, or does Baba ask his children to fetch water? I know you know the answer. There's a time to lead and a time to acknowledge cheers. Popularity surges and wanes. Cheering masses come, change, and go. But solid service to the nation, brought against all odds, stands the test of history. Today, I charge you to soldier on in this cause. It is good for our people. It is good for our country. If you act out of conviction, if you put the people at the heart of your maneuvers, if you ensure that our actions are in line with our ideals as a party and our aspirations as a country, the luck of history will be on our side. And I've said, as has been said by Dr. Oscar Otele there, he told you, stand for what is right for the party. And look at what we have signed. And we must remain as ODM. And we've signed and agreed that we'll work together up to 2027. We have not passed any resolution as a party to say how we are going to go into the elections of 2027. So wherever you are, don't commit the party to some things which have not been discussed. Let those things be discussed first. We are ODM. Who's told you that ODM will not have a candidate in 2027? Who has told you? So first, think as ODM, we have a clear plan that we have negotiated and we have agreed on, and let us continue to implement that plan. Other decisions we'll take when the time comes. Finally, first, I want to thank Mbadi for bringing out some of the issues. Like he talked about selling some assets. Kenya Pipeline Corporation. The pipeline is underground from Mombasa through here. Even if you sell it, where is somebody taking it to? It remains very much an asset of Kia. It is just there on the ground. So somebody want to buy it, buy it. That is what Margaret Thatcher told Britons when the Arabs were coming with petrodollars to buy historical buildings in the UK. She said, even if they buy Buckingham Palace, where are they going to take it? It remains here. Your asset. It's an idle asset. Sell it so that you get money instead of going to borrow. Make money to invest instead of going to borrow here. I want to sell the shares of Safaricom. Why not? Why don't you sell the shares of Safaricom? It just remains here in the country. This is what my friend, the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has done in India. When he invited me to go to Gujarat as chief minister then, I went as a chief guest in what is called a vibrant Gujarat. And there were many people who had been invited from outside India. And I was in a panel discussion with some of the Indian conglomerates, the Tata, Ratan Tata, the Adani groups, and all this together. And we saw how many deals were being signed, people coming to invest in Gujarat. State of Gujarat is one of the states of India. The economy of Gujarat was growing at the rate of 13% per annum, compared to 5-6% of other states. Gujarat, the population of Gujarat is 60 million people, bigger than Kenya. So I asked Modi, how did you manage to achieve this? He went into his bookshelf and brought me a piece of legislation. He said, this is the secret. This was a PPP law of Gujarat, which he said, make it simple like this. It will attract people to come and invest in your country. And with that legislation, I came here and I presented it to the cabinet. And I told him what I saw in Gujarat is something astonishing. We approved the memo in the cabinet. It was then given to then Minister for Finance, who was acting, Mr. Michuki, to go and prepare a cabinet memo. When he took it to the mandarins in the treasury, they manipulated it, changed so many things. By the time they brought it back to the cabinet, it was a different document. I told him, who will come, who will want to risk his capital with these kind of things you put in this law? It was passed and brought to Parliament, passed, no investors came, because there were so many restrictions, and private capital is risk shy. But when I was there, they took me. They took us. I was in that delegation as a prime minister. I'd gone with the current prime cabinet minister, Mr. Mudavadi. We were with President Ruto at that time, with Chris Obure, who was a minister for public works. I was with a big delegation. We were taken to a place called Mundra, a port, where they had built, Modi had given just land to Adanis, 5,000 hectares of land, marshland near the sea. They drained that land and built a port. So they were using that port to import coal from Indonesia. And they put up a power plant, 4,600 megawatts of power. Then the Tata group followed suit and also built a similar plant, 4,600 megawatts there. So a total of 9,600 megawatts was being generated from that port alone. Our total generation capacity in this country today is not even 3,000. That's from that port. And then they built a railway line, 100 kilometers to join with the national railway system. A sleeping village of 5,000 people rose to become a village of a town of 200,000, eventually now 500,000 people. And investors came to invest in that place. They even built an airport in that place. Okay? Then I can give you so many other examples. So you find the same people, Adani, are given them Bombay. Bombay airport used to be so dilapidated, fly infested and so on. They could have constructed Bombay airport. Today, Bombay airport is so efficient when you go there. You go and look at the Delhi airports. When Modi eventually became Prime Minister of India, he now replicated what he had done in Gujarat in the whole of India. Within the time that he has been the Prime Minister for 10 years, they have constructed 130,000 kilometers of railway line through PPP. They have, in almost every state in India has got 2 international airports in India. All this being done through PPPs. And that's why when Adani came here to want to do this airport, and too much noise was being made in Parliament for no reason at all. They pulled out. The Red Airport is just like here, it is. It's just as it is. They are not taking it away. They are bringing their money to do it. They are bringing their money to do it. And they will charge for over 30 years so that they don't charge so highly. That's what would have happened. Now, a similar arrangement is happening in Kigali. So the Qataris are building Kigali International Airport in the same terms like Adani wanted to do here. So Kigali is going to be the hub in this region, not Nairobi, because of noise being made by other parties which were also interested in doing what Adani was supposed to do and paying people down under the table to make noise every day in the newspapers. Shame on them. Shame on them. We need to wake up as a country, because if we don't wake up, we're going to continue to sleep. There are many opportunities that are available for us as a country. We as ODM must remain ODM and remain focused.